Good morning, my friends. Here I am, back on the lathe. And you want to know something? Just because you go online and you do a search on a particular type of wood and you don't come across anything that says you can turn it, does not mean you can't turn it. I'm telling you, some of the best secrets are hidden on what nobody else does. I'm telling you. Well, just recently, a co-worker of my wife said, oh, she had some branches from a banyan tree in the backyard that somebody cut up, tree service, and they left it in the woods. Now, I went over there, and apparently it had been there a long time. It was very light in weight, so banyan tree is a very light wood in weight. I'm going to tell you that right off the bat. If you're not familiar with what banyan tree is, look it up. It's going to be the most fascinating tree that you will ever see. It grows crazy. All the branches come off and they branch back down into the ground and form new trunks, and they go on forever. I mean, one tree can consume 2 acres of land. Can you imagine that? Anyway, I got the banyan tree and I got home and I did a search as usual to see, well, what are the characteristics of the wood. And the tree itself has a lot of beneficial uses. It's a tree that's originated in India. It's considered to be a sacred tree. There were tradesmen that used to hold these trade meetings underneath them because they're so big and so huge, and they form such beautiful canopies. But anyway, and they used for a lot of medicinal uses, as well as harvested today to make shellac. They get the shellac, I believe, from the bark. Anyway, I did the search online and no uses for the wood. It was like, I was so disappointed. It's like, you know, go to forums, does anybody ever turn this? And it's like, no, it's too soft of a wood, blah, blah, blah. It's only good for firewood, and, you know, and of course it's the uses that it has. But I was like disappointed, but it's like, well, I got this beautiful log, 2 logs, that's what I picked up. The lady had maybe a 4-foot length log, 12-inch diameter. It's not 12-inch diameter because it's very awkward, and one branch splits into 2 and so on and so forth. Well, one stump splits into 2. But anyway, similar to this, is an example of one of the branch downs. You know, this came back into the ground in 2 different forms. It originally started off on a branch going across like this, and this part came down. Like I said, it splits and creates these throughout large radius. You know, I've seen trees down here maybe with 10, 15, maybe 20 feet diameter of its base, where it has a formation of all these different trunks come off, and the roots come off the ground, very jagged and you know, very stringy, wavy, going through. Beautiful, beautiful architecture that's they create. Anyway, I don't want to be talking about a stump. I want to talk about what's on the lathe. You have to look at this. It's no Burl, for sure, but I'm telling you, it stands its own ground in the beauty that's in it. Yes. You say, well, this thing, like I said, has its own place in wood beauties. Let me see how close I can get without losing it. I'm gonna keep you right there. I think, alright, just go out a little bit so we can see better. But these characteristics that you see, this zebra striping, is constant. Some very tight, some a little bit wider, but it goes all over. Yes, I know, it has spalting. The spalting adds quite a bit to the beauty of the wood, but that is not the beauty within itself. The beauty within itself is, like I said, it's these wavy, different zebra striping that's going through in so many directions. Very pronounced wood. Beautiful, beautiful wood. I mean, I'm glad that I picked it up. I'm glad that I have a few blanks that I'm going to be working with. But like I said, it's very light. It's very light, you know, not as light as balsa wood, but definitely very light. It's not as soft as what I was made to believe on the readings that I did. It's got a little bit of stiffness to it. It cuts rather well if you have a nice sharp tool. If your tool is a little dull, you're going to get a lot of tear out. But overall, it's a nice wood, and like I said, the beauty, and I can't get over, I cannot get over, is the beauty that's within the wood itself. I mean, look at that. Just look at that. Beautiful going this way over here, and yet you get to this side, it's going this way. This way. Squiggly going towards the middle. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. You know, it just shows you that Mother Nature herself can play tricks on you. And it can deceive you, it can tell you one thing, and you know, and it hides beauties within themselves. So the whole point of the story is, just because nobody really uses it or turns it, or it's not being used as a craft, does not mean it doesn't have some really beautiful characteristics within itself. Look at the Melaleuca that I picked up recently. You know, at first I thought I was going to really be struggling with applying a good finish to it, and I did struggle. I had to find my way around it to really achieve a nice finish, and I've achieved some of the best finishes that I have on any pieces on Melaleuca. It just required a little bit more sanding. It required some finer grit sanding, and it definitely required sealing it with sealer, which is sanding sealer, which is something that I really never got to use in the past. All my carpentry years, all the work that I've done is I would sand things smooth, and I would apply a polyurethane, or I would give it a stain and a urethane finish. Those were my applications to my wood cabinetry and all that stuff that I did. But sanding sealer has become a necessity in my shop. I will apply sanding sealer to everything that I build from going forward. Now this has had a couple of coats of sanding sealer as well, this piece that I just showed, and it was sanded. And you know something? To apply and to give myself the best possible finish, after the sanding sealer is dry, I wet sand it. I wet sand it with 2000. I know 2000 is not going to do any cutting into the wood whatsoever. So I'm not trying to remove scratches out of the wood with a 2000 grit sandpaper, but I am flattening that sanding sealer to an automotive finish. So that becomes nice and flat, and if there's any slight crevices in the wood itself from my previous sanding, which I sand up to 400, and steel wool, I don't know what the grit is on the steel wool, but I'll steel wool it a little bit. So if there are any scratches caused by that steel wool or by the previous grits that I put on there, the sanding sealer fills them up. Once you break it down with the 2000 grit, guess what? You're not going to be clearing up the sanding sealer from within those grooves. You're just going to be flattening it up and making it a perfect finish. And that's what I got. But mostly what I got is beautiful, beautiful wood grain. Well, you know, I apologize that this video is not about how I achieved that, or how I turned it. The reason for that is because if I already done a hollow vessel turning, well, you know, and you know, it's out there. You can go out, you can find it, and if it's not mine, you can find some real talented people out there who really show you some procedures that they use that you can apply to your techniques. That's how I learned my techniques, by watching people. I watch, I don't absorb everything I see. I don't take anything I see as written in stone, but I watch the techniques and I come out here and I try to approach those techniques the same way, and I find my way. I find what works for me, whether if it's a pull cut, whether if it's a push cut, whether if it's a you know, all these cuts. Those come in with your own practice. You can't go and watch somebody, watch me, watch Mike Wall, watch Carl Jacobson, watch Naked Turner, whatever, and go in there and you know, and what he does, and come to your lathe and say, well, you know, I'm doing it exactly like he is and I'm not getting the same result. You need practice, practice, practice. You really need to get a mindset for what you're doing with your tool. Almost like memory set in, where you approach it without even thinking and you going. To always think, a lathe is not your safest tool in a shed. It can be, but and the dangers on the lathe is no greater than the dangers on any other power tool. Table saw, oh my God, you know, table saw can be a scary, scary tool. But you know, use good judgment. Use your protection wear that you're supposed to be using. Know your capabilities and know the capabilities of your tools or your main tool. Learn it well, play it safe, have fun, create something, and we'll see you next time very soon. I guarantee you that. There will be more of this wood turning. Maybe I'll come up with a design that I haven't done before, and you know, I'll do a video on that. But I'll keep you informed and show you what comes up next. Thank you for watching. Take care. See you very soon.